Hello, this is Mantle Limited back for another video. Yes, we're back. And this time we're gonna play Onega. If you don't know who they are, they're this people. Or the Anti-Communist Volunteer Guard. So this is the new Deep Freeze update. And boy is it chilly. Most because they add in Antarctica finally, so you don't just have to read about it, you can actually play it. Although they are missing out information on the Japanese one, deep disrespect. They also they also gave the new Hebrides back to Australia and made Fiji an independent country. Personally, I believe Fiji should be related to the Japanese, not the Americans, but that's just me. But we're not going to really care about those, we more care about these regions around here. So what are we? So let's start with chapter 1, The Damned Lie. The Third Reich had assured the people of the Finnish Republic that the Soviet Union would never again threaten Finland nor its territorial gains in Karelia. The West Russian War proved that to be a damned lie, and the West Russian Revolutionary Front remnants of the Red Army in West Russia, wow, that's a lot of work, nearly managed to derail Germany's new order in Europe. Once the dust had settled, the Finnish Republic found its eastern border occupied by a remnant of the WA, the West Russian Revolutionary Front. Looking only to themselves for safety, Finland turned to an unorthodox solution to east. Russians living in Karelia and around Lake Onega, where we got the name, were captured by Finland's new military government. The men were separated from their families and forcibly drafted into a new anti-communist volunteer guard led by former Red Army General Vladimir Cherpenchnikov, the general himself. I'll go into that later. Now you're thinking, why this nation, this small speck of dust that most people would have forgotten by now? It's most because I like the nation. I just unconditionally like it. Plus also the height it can get from just a small speck to being the leader of a faction that basically blocks, that kicks up. So start from Omps to Novi Port. We don't get that island though. You'll see later on in the series. This army of damned would hold the borderland between Finland and the West Russian Revolutionary Front. Helsinki dictats were very simple. All the guardsmen had to do was defend Karelia from bandits and from communists. To do the east, loyal service would be let the guardsmen see their families again. Freedom. Nearly a decade on, the men of guard cling on to the promise of seeing their family once more. The task is a grueling, thankless one, as they patrol the Arctic land around Lake Onega, fighting bandits, communist infiltrators. The guardsmen look east for uncertainty. The winds are changing in West Russia, and it's likely soon their fellow countrymen will come knocking to recapture the land stolen by Finland. Ill-equipped, the guard continues its watch. Their service will guarantee their freedom one way or the other. Onward. So, the army ones we have is the 12th I think that's just the 12th Standard Division, 13th Standard Division, 8th Standard Division, 7th Standard Division, 6th Standard Division, 9th Standard Division, 11th Standard Division, and the 10th Standard Division. They will be led by General Alexei Fofonanov under the mighty field marshalship of Vladimir Cherpenchnikov. Trapechnikov. Now, Mr. Mokolova did do a series on that, but he only did one half of the entire thing. Technically, Onega isn't just the disunifier of West Russia, no. It's the disunify of the western half of Russia, i.e. both West Russia and West Siberia. Because he only played half of it. Plus also the new update changed some things about it too, but we'll get into that. Anyway, the Red Menace. Before the Patriotic War, also I am reading this because I'm pretty sure no one else is really playing Onega, unless like really briefly or no one's really filming them playing it. There existed a union of workers and Soviets that reigned from the Bering to the Baltic. Once the foreigners are filling the dreams of proletariat everywhere, the Germans have shattered this union, and now the warlords claim pieces of Russia, and it stands the largest remnant of the Union authority in West Russia. Its borders us, and to put it mildly, they are not the friendliest neighbours by a long shot. Neither the people of Onega nor the Finns desire their break through past our humble little state. As such, we need to make measures to arm ourselves against the continued raids and incursions coming from the front. The sandbags shall pile high, and the men behind them will be prepared to open fire. Never shall they take what rightfully belongs to our people, and for every kilometer stolen they shall pay for its weight in blood. Onega will endure and outlive the spectre of a lost union. So let's get some sciences. So prototype anti-air, and into engineering we'll get some improved computer machines. Get some more standard revisions being cooked up. But being trained in Yitegra. So the regions we have are Yitegra and Onega. Originally we did get Anisavjavi. You'll later regain it after we won this. Also known as the region of Pudzev, with Prutoninen being renamed to Pudzev. We'll see it when you get to it. PP 22222. This is also the place where I learned about how to increase my political power. Scavenge for loot. And put our boys on training. And speed up the time. Because technically we won't really come into prevalence until the Karelian Wars, which is technically a ways away in 1965. But yeah, screw it. Also, you want to know what happened to this new right. Vladimir Krpenchov is studying. So what makes him mad? Vladimir Krpenchov is studying in his frigid capital of Onega. Our state is called Onega. Our capital, Onega. Makes sense. Overlooking one of the many barracks within the town, reserved for the troops of his anti-communist volunteer guard. The guard has been his work for creation, organization, the recruitment of soldiers into it. It certainly hadn't been an easy task. Truthfully, ever since his capture and imprisonment by the Finns, Krpenchnikov has missed organizing and commanding troops. But even then, with the gift that they have bestowed upon him, he was reminded of the true nature of his post. He was well aware of his being little more than a pawn to the interests of Helsinki, and he was just as aware as his actions in Onega and beyond had been more than mildly authoritarian. Was a military dictatorship, dictator, simply put, and one propped up by a Finnish government. At that, it was a position that caused him great ambivalence. On the one hand, he could protect those within his fiefdom and serve the interests of the Karelian Russians. On the other, he only did so as a means to Finnish ends, and any dissension, especially from communist enemies, wasn't tolerated. The stern look of Cherpennikov's face as looked down on his volunteer guard training betrayed view on emotion, and he felt ultimately the ex-Soviet general thought to himself his position as the leader of the guard wasn't one that sat right with him in his gut. A trumped-up dictator based on out of a small timber town of Onega had hardly a fitting or prestigious legacy for a Soviet commander, but Cherpennikov had little love lost for the Soviets under Bukharin, but even more so under the military rule of Alexander Yegorov, probably butchering a bunch of these Russian names. He had treated the Russian people with all manner of cruelty during the German invasion. Stabbed out of his forts by a subordinate's call, he banished his ambivalence to the background of his mind and began his weekly inspection. Alright, let's begin. So, let's do our thing. So, we're led by the anti-communist volunteer guard, or Russian Perveya Dobrovolashevskaya Anti-Kommunistcheskaya, probably a bunch of that, Gvardia, which is a military hunter. Trust me, it does change, especially at our peak, where we spanned from Onega over here, or Pudzev over here, and all the way to Vortuka over here. Yeah, that's the maximum extent, unless they add more information or stuff. I wonder what it would be like if Onega, the Russian Defense Alliance, or West Russian Defense Alliance, yes, that's the faction you can create under them, will be able to add up to the entirety all the way to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatskaya. If they add that, that would be very cool, and they also might need to extend the focus tree, because even though the focus tree does extend if you win it from this point, I definitely know that it definitely needs to be extended even more. Our things, we got Volunteer Guard, the Finnish-sponsored anti-communist Volunteer Guard, dominate the state apparatus, while some would complain about this state of affair, saying that this makes us a mere puppet to Finland's interest. Thus far, the partnership works. We fight the communists. They keep us safe, with the promise of more to come later. The Karelian resettlement zone. If communists defeated the Finnish secure, we have come to an arrangement with our former sponsor. We will receive all territorial spoils from the West Russian War, and they would encourage the Russian Karelians to resettle in our lands. So basically, Russians are being forcibly kicked out of Karelia, and Murmansk most likely, and being dumped here. Finnish dependency, low. Finland is an ally to our mission to eradicate the communist and extremist threats in our motherland. Nothing less and nothing more. We will not cow to them whims in Helsinki. The army bureaucracy of Onega serves herself first and foremost, always and forever be if luck could be with us. Dealing with bandits. The bandits that plague Onega will still assault in convoys and be populous, probably inherent from when we were set up by the Finns. Now more than ever, we must make sure to secure our logistical situation as well as our internal borders, lest we fail to fall to the next faction and a weak hold government. Set up by the Finns in times of crisis, most of the populace is best reluctant to join with what they see as a puppet government, which technically in the wiki Onega is a Finnish puppet state, also way through the video, to join, and what they see is a puppet government, couple of them with radical attempts to incite people to the West Revolutionary Front, the Tsarists, so the Principality of Vyatka, or Samarans, or the Committee for the Liberation of the Peoples of Russia. Cause and it spells trouble. We must deal with the political situation. We do get decisions to deal with these two early on, so that's that. Now we move. The agreement ends the illusion crisis. And also, all of these things have been resized. Well, nothing's changed here and here. Tomsk is, or the Central Siberian Republic, is definitely bigger. I feel like the Siberian Black Army definitely got more up. The Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, or Kuks, is definitely increased in size, that's 100% sure. It's either me or the Karakoram government of Russia, or Russia itself, has gotten bigger, and same with the Federation of Novosibirsk and Altai, or Novosibirsk. What I do know is Amur definitely, or the All-Russian government of Amur, has definitely increased more northernly, and the Sakha Republic definitely increased sideways. Same as the Transbaikal Principality, or Chita, and now Magadan actually, or the Free State of Magadan, is now touching Kamchatka, or the Soviet Pacific Fleet, which didn't happen before. Also, they changed the Xinjiang Border Defense Administration's color to more of a tealic color. Is that a color, tealic? Anyway, I think they kept the National Revolutionary Army 40th Army Group the same color, although that's up to me. Same with the National Revolutionary Army's 24th Army, although they did move it slightly more to the right. Also, they got rid of the Northwestern Supplementary Army, the guys that went up to here, which they definitely increased the NRA 40th size. Now replacing with the Northwestern Security Council, led by Zhang Langfeng and the Honggao Minggao Gaojun. Time. Also, they gave the Northwest Frontier Province Quetta, but I think they may have expanded the Kingdom of Afghanistan more into the Gorno-Badakshah region, which is technically accurate. Also, why is the Xinjiang region claiming it? Strange things. Also, they changed the Khanate of Kalat to the Union of Baloch States. Oh, so we got some tribute from these guys, West Revolution Front, after we attempted to raid them, put into building more schools. Also, they changed how the Reich Commissary Moscowin's collapse happens, and the Reich's gone to the moon. They also expanded the People's Republic of Pakistan to bigger size, which, okay. They also decreased the size of Tashkent in the People's Republic of Uzbekistan, Which, damn. He also gave Armenia its independence as a Turkish puppet, but it's what it is. The modern Bogiarty of the Tales of Russian Anarchy stands and but one that has spread from the frozen lands of the far eastern city of Kostroma to the west, and even deep into the lands of the Nazi Empire. The story of a wanderer from parts unknown brings justice with them as they walk the desolate roads of old Russia. This wanderer has come to one of the greatest enigmas in all of Russia. That would be Steve. Okay, if you don't know, Steve is a CIA agent that was told to start from Magadan and cross and map out all the possible allies you can find in Russian anarchy. Usually he gets either arrested in Amur or one of the other states. It's really most of the time he just gets arrested and never heard of again. So you'll probably never hear him pass here. The most common way to get stuck is when he goes to the old Russian governor of Amur and he gets arrested after he finds out one of his guards had a gun on him. Anyway, little is known about this enigma. For just the way old Russia, this wanderer can be one of the greatest niggers of all Russia. Little is known about this nigger. Some reports former ranger of the Rural Guard, a man who left his home and bring justice to the west of Russia. Others tale of a former word-marked soldier consumed by guilt and under self-imposed exile as a penance to the people he wronged. A few scant reports tell of a widow from a destroyed village seeking to bring to others the justice she was denied. Whispers in the east speak of an American volunteer from the West Russian War, struck in a soil now his own, but still doing good, where he wandered and in a bar in the Siberian cities one always find the strange and unlikely drug-induced tales of a man from the future who comes back to save the world. Wherever their true identity and wherever their purpose in the corpse of the Soviet Union might be, all that is truly known in the kindness they have shown in people of violence and death. Tales told of holding off entire bandit raiding parties single-handedly liberating slaves from Perm, also known as the Aryan Brotherhood. Tell of an angel of light freeing them from the shackles before disappearing into the night. Rumors have even come from Moscow that one man raids a Nazi stronghold in the end. While many of these deeds are undoubtedly fictitious and the actions of this hero, this is a modern-day Bogyarta. I think it's supposed to say Myarta. I don't know what a Bogyarta is. Someone please tell me. Have lit a fire of hope in the hearts of even the most trampled upon Russia. An interesting story, if nothing else. Moving forward from that wicked conversation point, building some schools, training. Also, an assassin tries to kill Hitler. Peter Sokolov, from the situation goalkeeper, sat in his chair, pipe clenched between his teeth, rough fingers flipping through battered journals. The page tickled his callous pad as the leaves slid under his hand, a thoughtful expression lighting his face. The date above his entry were written in smudge and bucky, reading from 1917 to 1922, a lifetime ago. Peter stopped on a random page, his old eyes flickered back and forth as he read. A smile crept over his creased face. Entry of questions described Peter's adventures deep in the red territory with his one-time companion, a spy, Paul Jukes. Peter and the Brit had gotten along famously, and the two had embarked on numerous missions against the hated Bolshevik menace. Those had been days of heroism and daring, both thrilling and even invigorating in equal measure. Peter sighed, letting out cloud of pipe smoke as he did. He wondered what his old friend has been doing all these years. Was he collaborated in the English government? Perhaps a brave freedom fighter indeed. Her Majesty's most loyal resistance, that's what HMMR stands for. Who could say? Peter's eyes, the journal in his hands. It was a shame to let such exciting tales go to waste in his mind of an old man. When this was all over, Peter resolved to himself he would write a book about his adventures with a spy. Why not? He had all the information he needed in a book resting in his hands. Secret agents and super spies in Russia, a novel idea. Forward! So, if anyone knows where Paul Jukes or whatever his name was, I completely forgot after 5 seconds from these points. Please tell. Guarantee stability or so this would be magicals, this would just increase engineering. Guaranteed stability. Onega may very well be the last bastion of protection against the horrors of West Russia, but under West Russia in particular, we are a candle amid the dark, our faint light illuminating the way for those who walk with us, a plank of stability in the middle of a raging sea. If we are to defend ourselves, our people must first feel safe away from the dangers that the wars of Russia present. We must legitimate our claims to our land, and the Finnish, the Germans, and the Russians will know that we were the last best hope of democracy in West Russia. No more shall the days of banditry disturb and harass the common man of Onega. He shall feel safe, for that look to the north shall not see only terror and horror, but a hand clasping a torch of liberty, and others shall wield a sword, and all that desire to extinguish the torch shall bleed and die. Moving forward from that dark and egg spill, I guess looking at other stuff. Please don't crash my recording, please don't crash my recording. Oh no, Hitler's named Spear's successor, Jesus Christ. Oh right, Tunis. Tunis has become a real thing under El-Hizb el-Hayat el-Missouri of Mohammed VIII. So Spears is a successor, I'm not going into that. Other new things are the Lebanese Republic existing under the Hizb al-Watayin al-Ha of Kasmil Chapon, and the Emirate of Transjordan existing under Abdullah's court of Abdullah I bin al-Hussein, and but still the Palestine, the governor of the Palestine still exists. Oh yeah, also Mosul Kirkuk is now renamed to the 6th Inspector General of Mosul and Kirkuk. Faint hope, the board within Vladimir Kirkuk's humble office was filled with maps, all of which were covered in drawing. The offensive lines, fallback lines, projected encirclements in one, as well as not well versed in the reality of the anti-communist volunteer guard situation vis-a-vis manpower and equipment. One would think that Trepennikov was preparing real offensive eastward. Unfortunately, most of Trepennikov had drawn up was entirely unrealistic. His most cynical commanders would even suggest to one another, well out of earshot of their leader, that his plans offensive were little more than pure fantasy. But what was a man to do, if not war game? His guard ran out of autopilot. His guards won on autopilot, the result of his nurturing a strong relative independent command structure, and Trepenkov had never been a micromanager anyhow, but as a leader of the Finnish satellite state often reminded himself, the Finns had promised him something, his freedom, and the freedom of subsequent government if he was able to take Arkhangelsk here and end the West Russian Revolution front once and for all. Perhaps it was the general's old guilt and benevolence that translated into his ambition to take the city and end Soviet remnants once and for all. Though many of his sports, to a degree, they were right, none of the volunteer guards officer corps had any love for the Finns, but what the officers didn't know is that Pinkov was more motivated by hope for redemption rather than guilt. Oftentimes late at night, when he sleeps eluding the Asian general, he would walk in the cold night air and without any guard to his office and look over his plans, imagining the aftermath of fictional victory. It was during one of these nights, despite his ambivalence for his own role and weariness for going Soviet, he resolved that he would beat them or die trying. Hope cannot be found anywhere. That was a faint hope. Moving forward, get some equipment from slots that's basically bankrupt us, but we need the equipment, so screw it. So yeah, usually you wouldn't read this because most people don't. Technically, yeah, take that as what you will. That was a thing I wasn't even expecting, how deep it went. Most because I would usually just click off them. Yeah, a deeper story than you expect. That is done. Promise furthermore. Wait. Root out the bandits first. Beyond Onega front lines lie the West Russian Revolution front, a terrifying foe, the most dangerous contender of the old Union legacy. However, behind the barbed wire and sandbags that dot our border with them is Onega's pervasive problem: banditry, bands of armed men roam the wilderness seeking to rob innocent men and women of their belongings. Occasionally, they chance upon an unguarded armed shipment, taking the rifles, ammunition, and various tools of warfare away from us. Solve this problem. We have two approaches to pick: either the carrot or the stick. For the softer, less violent option, we can bribe those vagabonds and outlaws into serving our armed forces in turn for pardons and a living wage. For the harder, more drastic option, we can increase our patrols and finally root them out, crush them whichever we choose. The less effort we spend on bickering amongst ourselves, the more room we have to fight against the Reds. Let's roll. And right there. The Prime Minister of Australia resigns, moving forward. Our troops are getting more skilled with more weapons we technically do have, which is surprisingly not a lot, even though we do have. We've saved 1,000 troops. You know what I'm wondering. So the cities we do have are Onega, which I've already talked about. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, Fidel Castro, size rule, no one cares. Talk about that later. The cities we do have are Onega, Kargopol, and Ytegra. Anyway, now to these things. So, home no longer. Nikolai O'Mullen had not knowing what to expect when he created the hill he well remembered. He crested the hill he well remembered just outside hometown of Provence. Whatever it had been, it was not what he had found. Despite the length of time he had served with the volunteer guard, he did not return home in years. Despite Provence's location just over the Finnish border in terms of appearance, he recognized much the hill itself, of course, the spire of a town church, the stone wall that one of more eccentric residents had built to protect his garden from children, such as himself. But he quickly found that he had no longer recognized the people. The eccentric resident had gone as well as was nearly everyone else. He remembered. Confused, he had demanded answers from those encountered, and in short order discovered that the reason he no longer knew his hometown's inhabitants, they had been nearly to one replaced. Since his last visit, the Finns had displaced the Russians in Provence, including his friends and family that have lived since the time of the immemorial. In their place were Finnish settlers, encouraged by the government to venture into Karelia, further security. Grateful of the Republic, Elmelin had been struck nearly speechless and unsure how to respond. Had departed shortly thereafter. During the return journey to Onega, however, he quickly found himself unable to feel anything other than disgust. Was this what he had been fighting for, so that Onega's protectors could colonize it? And if what could he have hoped to do about it? A man questions his purpose. As the lost equipment arrives, which usually you would just kick off and never spoil, men shouted in distance, repeating pat trees and shuddered handwritten by Colonel Utkin. We do not have a Colonel Utkin, so that's it. That early morning, a few stars peeking, rising from the... Oh, if you want to know what Slots is, the Slots Republic is these guys. Led by Yuri Dragonov, who are basically... They would sell weapons. They were huge weapon manufacturer in the TNO world, so every faction would just buy off them, make them stupidly rich. Furthermore, a few alongside gentle falling snowflakes were strong trees, enough to pierce beauty through the grisly sight of blood-stained forest. Yes, the Russian spray, the Russia wilderness. Colonel Utkin found himself alive, his men alive, and wilderness. Every single would-be marauder of his fine homestead and village on the run, or lying dead in the snow. Everyone stood in silence, taking in their first victory in months, their first chance to make a stand against the Russian attacker, who had gratefully pillaged their land and for long. The men threw down their rifles, hung out on over, and cheered to the heavens over the newfound victory against the murderous thieves who played aid for so long. Colonel Utkin, however, Hoggerman to inspect the boys that at least which must have been 16, a prime age for a cadet, for the rise of the Soviets, perhaps, but a cold, lifeless eyes remind the day Russians would war no longer. Cheers and cries greeted a party of guards. They entered the settlement once again, this time tasted the first victory against the men who tore their land assured. Longer, however, whilst the rest of the men enjoyed the family's taverns, Colonel Utkin made his way to the office, readying himself to congratulate the man truly in charge of the victory. Spinning the rotary, Colonel Utkin waited. Yes, Major Consul Dragonov. This is Colonel Utkin. I wish to report the lives you've saved with your most recent transaction with our government. Excellent. So, yeah, that's probably pretty helpful. Usually, the Lutz is usually killed off during the West Siberian Smuta. Counting these guys straight up do not want to, these are similar to us, actually, quite similar, except in size and wealth. The Zlots are technically we're both disunifiers of Russia, although Slots uh, more likes this unification. Plus, also, Ugra is legitimately their puppet. The thief territory of Ugra is their puppet. They also, speaking of Ugra does invade the Vorkuta, or the Ukrainian Collective Labor Camp, under the Vasily Blomkin, and I'm not even going into that. We have gained the ability to root out bandits, so let's assault their bandit weapon caches, deploy forces to protect rail lines, and destroy bandit strongholds. Turn down a bunch of it. Now, promise them democracy. Our mission to guarantee stability to all of the inhabitants of Onega. We have come upon the opportunity to legitimize us in the eyes of the public. Democracy is a strange concept to Russia after centuries of imperial rule followed by 2 decades of Soviet administration. The people of Russia have never yet truly experienced what democracy is, what it entails. Freedom of speech, expression might seem to an average Onegan person to a pipe dream conjured from another realm. To rouse the will of Onega to fight for its fate in West Russia, we can promise the implementation of full parliamentary democracy, with the legal right that comes with it. Once our long, seemingly never-ending struggle is over, the rule by the will of the people shall dawn upon Russia. We shall herald a new era for Onega, where it's fight not for ideology or the will of foreign despots, but for liberty and freedom. I might go into 2 hours, mostly because the hype I'm going around with this is making my mouth dry. Also, for taking this long to get me through the year 1962, it's most likely going to take me ages to go get 1963. So yeah, 2 hours. Most likely no one's going to watch past the first hour part, but hey. Or save, do not crash my recording. My mouth is dry. I was looking lip. Nothing to do here, nothing to do here. We wait. Now we get to effect payments from Onega. Turkish government negotiations with the spring protests. We get invented that. Now we invent this. Alright, I need to talk about him. Before the Second World War, Vladimir Vasilievich Cherepanov was nothing more than an ordinary commander of the Red Army. May thought he was destined to die as a hero of the Soviet Union, bravely fighting against the enemy, but that was not to be his fate. A few months of fighting Russia's experience before collapsing into chaos and warlordism, Cherepanov would lead the 43rd Rifle Division into battle against the Finns and the Karelian in the Crimean Isthmus. His superior army tactics that caused the Soviet front to collapse, and the 34th Division was almost destroyed. Cherepanov was captured during the chaotic retreat and would be interrogated and interned in the Finnish army. The Major General remained in prison until the West Russian War came. Ever since the end of the war of the Eastern Front, Finland has been protected by the chaos in Russia by the Wehrmacht, but once the Western Front stormed the AA line, Finland was in danger. Now that they could not simply trust the Reich to protect our frontier to solve the problems, the Finns have gathered the anti-communist volunteer guard force composed of Russians in their territory and led by none other than Cherepanov himself. The promise made by Finland, which kept a tight leash to the guard, was that should they drive the Reds out of Archangels, they could have the land settled and be independent. Now Cherepanov rules a small warlord state centered in Onega and must stand against the power of the West Russian Red Front. The Finnish still maintain some control over it, but should Cherepanov liberate Archangels, from the hold of communist Russia, the Russia of Karelia might finally be once the Russians of Karelia may finally be once free again. Colombian President Lorenzo Gonzalez dies in office. Okay, moving forward. The Muslim League has taken over these people. Northwest Frontier Province. A new thing they added. Later they will try to annex the Union of Bloc States. Oh yeah, they also, Bhutan's no longer part of Azad Hind, they're a full-on independent nation. That are in the faction of the co-conspiracy as a reliant state of India instead of just part of India. Same as Sikkim. Both of them are technically still independent with their leaders, the Chogyal and the I think they also have a Chogyal as well. If you don't know what that means, it means Lightning Dragon King. I 100% also buffed Onega, by the way, because the Onega is quite weak. It only has in total 8 troops and is not really a strong nation to begin with. Enemy defeated. Recent reports overheld Russia. So basically, we want to get to them. And we've also gained some stuff from it too. Since we are technically doctrine strategic forum. Now we're in Europe, we'll go to attrition. Revolting reminder. What the hell is this? The leader of the anti-volunteer guard yelled to his aide, who had the misfortune of delivering telegrams to him. Penkov was red-faced, usually departure has from his normal calm effect. It's a telegram, sir, from Helsinki, the aide responded, nearly shaking his note. I know what it is. It was a rhetorical question, Penkov said, his anger quickly depleting. Get out of here. He dismissed the aide in a abnormal, unprofessional fashion. Damned Finns. How do they expect me to handle this? The Finnish government had expelled another 3 villages worth of Karelian Russians to his territory to make room for more Finnish settlers. As more Russian refugees arrived in Onega, they brought with them almost nothing and needed a lot in return. Food, shelter, water, all things that were in short supply in the town of Onega, and which little territory Chepenkov controlled. Would he cared for the refugees as he would any Russian, but the rate in which Finns were shoving into his territory was becoming unsustainable. He sat in his desk and began typing on his typewriter angry letter, all capitals, addressing to the Finnish government and head of the army enforcing the deportation, Karl Lenak Omsk. But as he typed, and slowly left him, he was brought back to the days of his imprisonment and the way the Finns had treated him. He remembered his personal chats with Osh and the time the mere general in the Finnish army. One memory burned brightly most. Chepenkov had been starved for days, only given food after posing for a photograph, lighting up his cigar. A coup d'etat for Finnish propaganda. He couldn't go back to that. Ripping the page in his typewriter, he crumpled it up and went back to work, finding resources for the refugees he couldn't support. The Finns must have me by the scruff of my neck. But by him in this reality. For us, for democracy. Now it's time to remove the radicals. After the defeat of the shattering of the Revolutionary Front, the Finnish government of the 50s decade, after the annexation of Karelia into Finland proper, to found the state of Onega, a pragmatic solution to contain the chaos of Russia was spilling over to Finnish territory. It is first time to defense shows the power in the east threatened Finland itself, staffed by Russian exiles from various parts of former Union government. Onega only succeeded due to political neutrality that ensured continued Finnish support. This support must continue. The radical left and right must not be allowed to take power, lest they destroy the very foundations of the statute it was created and contained. We must root them out from the government, from our political organization, from our military structure, perhaps that we can stand not behold to the left or the right, but ourselves alone. Back time, and can't deal with more bandits yet. Look around the map. Oh yeah, the major factor of deep freeze. The entire Antarctic is the other thing I've already talked about with that. We also changed the colours of some nations. Moving on. Also changed Wolfia to the Republic of Senegal, which I like Wolfia better, personally. Assaulting the hideout as it was cloudy and windy as the volunteer guard moved into the position. The hideout stood just up atop a hill overlooking a small lake. At first it was unassuming, just another home on top of a hill, but the guard knew it was a chock full of bandits. It was strange to see them just out in the open like this, almost as if they were waiting to be attacked. Shouldn't they be living underground in some dark, grimy cave instead of a beautiful, large white house? They should be at least smart enough to hide and lay low, but perhaps these ones aren't too bright. After all, bandits usually aren't the smartest. The shocking charge would do the trick. Those bandits would surely be outnumbered once every man stood ready and the assault commenced. More than 100 volunteer guards charged up the hill and the slaughter began. Machine gun bullets rained upon the attacking troops from positions in the window of the house, striking them down as if they were little toys a child would play with, and flick them over with their finger, which was supposed to be just another hideout with a few chaos bandits with a hunting rifle, not a well-armed fortress full of bandits with a large machine gun nest. How did these bandits have this type of weaponry? Not even Onega's garrisons are this well equipped. Almost as quickly as they began charging the hill, the brave volunteer guards were fleeting down in terror, but it wouldn't end there. Even the volunteers reached the bottom. It went on. The barrage of bullets wouldn't end until they made it back to their camp, exhausted and covered in blood. The dead had missing were accounted for. The guard finally got the chance to rest. Later that night, a communication was sent out to the next regiment's commander. We failed against. The soldiers acted more like scared little girls than fearless men. If you finally turn up now, we might have a weak spot towards the south, toward the lake. Fewer windows there. I just wish we could get some artillery here and bomb them to smithereens. Good luck, Kirill. Now back to where we were. Marching through April. What to say, don't crush my recording, don't crush my recording. Independents win the last elections, nothing special. Arthur Cadwell becomes PM of Australia. Rebels in Malaysia won the Malaysian Civil War. Well done for you guys. Also, third when. Also, Cambodia is no longer a republic. No longer a kingdom, it's now a republic. Personally, I think it being more historically accurate to be a kingdom, but moving forward. After an assault on the bandit hideout, we have captured a cache full of equipment. Before bandits could escape, our troops were able to recover multiple weapons and support equipment. This will prove very useful in keeping our men and ready to fight. While not the finest guns, they're better than nothing. Perhaps one day we won't need to rely on scavenged weapons and barely functioning rifles from Finland, but now it's not the time. We may need to make do with what we have, or the communists could break down through Lake Onega in a day. So more weapons. Nice. New research stuff. Raid here. Due to warnings of a possible attack on important waterways, the volunteer guard has been sent to protect it from bandit attacks. These bandits have been terrifying countless elements, and we believe them to hold communist sympathies. Our gangs should have no problem warding off bandits, but it's still critical we keep the railroads secured. Railroads that could be attacked is our most important connection between Finland and Onega. It is how the Finnish are able to send the supplies and manpower, and only suitable routes to send troops through quickly. If it's damaged, we could face severe consequences. The guard would not let happen. Multiple bases have been set up along the railway. Guards have been sent to secure the situation. We could also have set up sniper positions across the area we think they may strike. It might also be a good idea to place troops on the trains just in case the bandits will never make it past our defences. It's no more ambushes in this time. Industrial regulations will slightly increase. I don't know why it's that, but moving forward. Destroy Russian and outposts. Removed radicals. Now our Finnish benefactor. Without Finland, Onega would not exist. This is the simple truth of our circumstance. The current Finnish government continues the policy of disallowing Finnish citizens from serving Onega and remaining neutral from all the chaos that emerges from West Russia, supporting no contender to power. Onega is a state of Russians funded, equipped by the powers that be in Helsinki, and without their aid, we would have been just another territory absorbed into the front. It is not late to better our relations with our Western neighbour. The benefactors, Russian diplomats, shall grace their embassy in Onega, whilst Trepetnikov shall send overtures and research to continue our operation personally. The fate of Finland and Onega are intertwined. If Onega loses the dominant power in West Russia, it shall drag it into war, and it will not want to enter. If Finland cuts its support, there's no doubt as to what will happen to us. Anyway, now, dealing with radicals. So, assassinate prominent radicals, disperse protesters, and enforce order. So, be lucky that this is 2 hours long, most because the more action happens in 1965, 66 area. Speaking of our Australian actors, led by Juha Rituni and the Kathleen Kokumas, or Cock, they're led by Cox. Auto save. Please don't crash my game. Please don't crash my recording. Please don't crash my recording. Please don't. Not. And no more training for now. Time to get some endurance back into you. Right into there. This guy wins Peru. This guy wins Colombia. Do a lot more warlord development. Capture Jonathon's Julo. What has happened? That Brazil won the World Cup. Eric Koch, Vice Commissar of Reconstruct Ukraine, is blown up in a bomb. That isn't done. Watch for civilians. Whilst it might be difficult from outside eyes to uprise the regional area, does not consist solely of soldiers. As the army as an organization does not exist without recruits drawn from the populace to be they a refuge or a native, yet as late the more prominent members of the citizenry have displayed symmetries toward the Reds, and some occasions the sport is not so much subtle as it is brazen and bold. We cannot allow this open defiance of our foundations to stand. We will implant members of the army into social life of our populace. This will go to villages, towns, and refugee camps, masquerading as yet another native or refugee. They will then mark certain demagogues who seek to ruin us and inform them. After that, guards will take care of the individual is disciplined of the virtues of democracy, lest they disappear. These are dark times, and live through it. We must take drastic measures. Storming the building. Doors of a modest cottage flew open. Dozen volunteers rushed in, desks, chairs, tables, all knocked down in search. No bandits were found, only some broken bottles, a few guns, and some bullets. If there had been bandits there, they were long gone now. They were too late. Although there is something to use in the cottage, certain something, in fact, the woman that lived there lay quiet on the floor. She could definitely serve a purpose. She has known some secret of these bandits. Perhaps she even knows another hideout location. The woman might not have been cooperative fully with the bandits, but there were obvious signs that the bandits had been her for a while. She could have been forced into housing them, but we have no time for empathy whilst bandits run wild. Hopefully she is willing to answer our questions. She might need a little coercion, but by the end of the day, the guards will know exactly where to go. I do not care what they said they would do to you. I promise you are capable of much worse. Nothing like a bit of torture to make anyone crack. Destroy another bandit stronghold. Trivet collapses on itself and force some order, making our situation better. Buryat again somehow wins this. Before this, Baratia would die immediately. Now Baratia seems to be doing it the opposite way around. Guarding the city, Dmitri stood outside the armory and took out the lighter. The streets of Onega were quiet as he looked up at the overcast clouds. His job was to make sure no bandits or criminals broke into the armory, of course. No bandit would ever be crazy enough to try and attack Onega. It would be suicide. So most days spent watching the people walk by on the off chance anyone else had entered the armory. He got to talk to them. He used to have asked for their authorization, but not anymore. He still remembered days where he had a great time beating up one person who tried to break in. Of course, there were an important government official and didn't need to be authorized, but it was still worth it, so currently his job was pointless. But if he got paid, he didn't care. Dmitri put his lighter away and thought of his home, or at least what was left of it. After the bandit raided his farm and murdered his parents, he had no home to go back to. That's when he joined the volunteer guard. Although he didn't expect to have to sit around outside frivolous places like barracks full of guards or secure armories in safe places for all of Onega, why wasn't Dmitri allowed to get his revenge and have some fun? The rest of the guards was busy hunting bandits whilst he was enforcing order in a way for bandits to come to him, while he could not be fair to at least they give him a home. Dmitri waited for the end of the shift, which was still 5 hours away. Perhaps one day he won't have to stand for hours and stare at the other building across. At least a cat came by once if in a while, and he got to pet, but who knows, because there was always a chance he could be called to attack some bandit hideout in some random forest. Hopefully he would get his chance. Who knew joining the volunteer guard would be so boring? Matiev enjoyed walking home. It gave him the last walk home. Matiev enjoyed walking home. It gave him a chance to clear his head and view the foreshore of Onega Bay in the dwindling light of the afternoon. The last day he was walking home on the water of the afternoon was always spectacular. The last day he walked home was a particularly bad day at the lumberyard. His boss, a pretentious, cruel little Finn called Kalle, had chosen Matiev as his victim for the shift, berating him for hours after the efficiency of his work squad of sawmill. Matiev had tried to explain to him that the efficiency of the sawmill was a matter of machinery, not of an operator, but Kalle would not listen. The men that kidnapped Matiev drove up to him in a black van. Speeding up along the foreshore, they jumped him on a still moving vehicle. The three of them, masked in black and wielding batons, they were upon him. Before he realized that he was happening, hitting him in the stomach and head so hard he passed out. When he came to, he found himself tied to a chair, his head throbbing and caked in dry blood. Directly across from him sat one of the kidnappers, his mask removed and revealed the fair hair atop the angular stern face. He spoke a phrase Matiev did not understand in Finnish. Somebody behind, but suddenly he felt a cold steel gun against the back of his head. Matiev realized he was already dead. The man across from him would still be wearing the mask if they were not planning to kill him. Slavic Matiev, the man opposite, said, beginning with Matiev knew his death sentences. As per the emergency military proclamation of the anti-communist volunteer guard of Onega, Matiev stopped listening, and the droning of his executors drawn out by Torrance Fort, who had ratcheted him out. Probably that bastard Kalle. He knew that Matiev was a supporter of the rest of the military front. Well, sorry for swearing. He should have been more careful. He should have just crossed the border and joined the Red Army like he had fought of so many times. Too late now. At least he could try to die of dignity. Why do you shut up already? He said, interrupting his executioner. Let's get it over with already. Somehow this would increase political parties. Moving forward. So moving on. Another peaceful sign in Onega. Guido appointed as president of Argentina. No idea who he is, but moving on. Oh no, please autosave, don't crush my recording. Oh, don't crush my recording. Please. Oh, thank God. Just going for loot. That's all done with. Ooh. There's some terror attacks in Uruguay by some Nazis. Che Guevara released from prison. War in the desert. So, the Lebanese Republic, the Emperor of Jordan, and the Ghana in the Palatinate are fighting against Turkey. Wonder who wins. I know they've definitely changed it, so the scores of victory becomes the official victory if Italy wins. If you don't know what that is, Iraq annexes Mosul and Kirkuk, and the Syrian national state becomes a Italian puppet. Expand the civil engineering. During the times of the Empire and the Union, the region of Onega only served its purpose as a middleman between the areas bordering Finland and the other more industrious parts of Russia. As such, the infrastructure and flow-through is sorely lacking. It is sorely lacking, a holdover from the past which, within its annexation of Crimea and the collapse of the subsequent retreat of the front into Archangels, Onega has taken the one place nobody ever expected it to claim, a strategic province that shields Finland from the horrors of West Russia. With this new status in mind, Fengov has agreed to expand the civil engineering corps of the Guard throughout Onega. They shall build bridges, roads, and more general primary infrastructure throughout the territory to facilitate the quicker movement of troops and supplies through the front lines. Should the front of the other warlords attack, they shall not find the Guard wanting guards wanting and unready or waiting. Also, finally, Bulgaria's now got a coastline in the Aegean Sea. It was unrealistic that Turkey had it. Cleaning up the cave. This is it, the Guard has finally gotten their chance. Almost all the hideouts have finally been located. The bandits' new numbers have continued to thin. This was one of the last major hideouts, and not all already fallen to the Guards. It was an almost cave, dug into the earth and hidden with branches and leaves. To be honest, it was a pretty good hideout. It had taken forever to track down, even with directions on how to find it, but Volunteer Guard finally outside. Those poor bandits had no idea what they had coming. The elite Volunteer Guard broke through the barrage before the bandits even knew what hit them. The Guard had learned of lots about bandits, spending so long hunting them down that even the volunteers was an expert in bandits' tactics. Clumsily, the bandits had no chance compared to the best volunteers in Russia. Well, Onega, with hidden A few minutes, almost every bandit was either dead or captured, with a few guard casualties. Even more good news, the men recovered many stolen goods. The bandits had captured money, personal belongings, expended commodities, and now it is the hands of Onega's best. Our leadership has decided about what to do with it all. Give it back to people or keep it for ourselves. This is it, of course. What other gods don't decide to keep. But for now, let's celebrate for one of first of many victories to come over fast. No more ambushes, no more dead guards, no more burning houses. Give it back to the people. We definitely do need stability. Yugo is now invading the Yakuza corrective slavery camps. Why did I question that? And tremors in Burgundian soil. Onega was not a particularly large city, at least well as true before the anti-communist guard came upon under Vladimir Kirkov and established a warlord state there, bringing many Russians there. However, not all of them were loyal to the Onega regime, despite all the hurdles the dictatorship had set up, helped to end the free and fair ideological expression, from censorship of the media to imprisoning political opponents. Some could still have their voice be heard. One day, a few blocks away from their leader's residence, over 200 citizens had the courage to make a democratic protest carrying all sorts of banners of flags. Moreover than not, were painted red. The first hour of the protests were most glorious. The self-proclaimed Democrats went around the city rallying support of other brave Russians who joined the movement, fanatically yelling messages against the warlord government. This exponential growth would soon come to an end as the Democrats reached the central square and met approximately 50 police officers, all protected by armor and armed to the teeth. Tear gas was thrown on the demonstrators, many of whom were students, but they kept going, dedicated to a fight for democracy and socialism. As demanded, hands began to draft and declarations prepared. The order was given to the police station in the city centre to break up the riots at all costs. Soon, first shots were heard, panic ensued, many fleeing or engaged in hand-to-hand combat with law enforcement. The police had no intention of stopping, and so continued firing on civilians until the threat ended. By nightfall, there was no one protesting anymore. Everyone had fled the bullets or had been wounded by them. For the guards, this was a small domestic victory, but for the socialists, the dream of democracy seemed more and more impossible to achieve. We did what had to be done. Somehow this would increase public meetings. This sounds like Georgia today, without the last part of them being shot at by guns. Although that would be an ingenious idea by the Georgian government to shoot their protesters. Anyway, investigating cargo, all were quiet on the dock road outside the checkpoint. Barely anyone used the road, just the occasional transport truck heading to the nearby food storage, and even more rarely, someone that could actually afford a car. But in this godforsaken hellhole, it was just another day for Andrei. They searching each vehicle that came through for smuggled weapons. Not much activity has been through today though. A few hours pass. The truck finally comes to a stop at the checkpoint. Chief Enforcer Gregory walked over and drove it as Andrei went to the back of the truck. Just another search, however, it was a bit strange for a supply truck to arrive at this time of night. They must be really behind schedule. The driver kept arguing that they didn't need a search and they were already authorized to bypass the checkpoint. After too many complaints of them being late and that the food was going to spoil, Gregory gave up on the search and walked back to the checkpoint to let the barrier up, but that was against protocol. All vehicles needed to be searched by the checkpoint before they were allowed through. Andrei knew something He seemed off about this, wary but unsure if it meant anything. Andre took matters to his own hands and forced open the back of the throat. 3 distinct human shapes were visible in the darkness, but before he could figure what they were, a shot running through the ear screamed came from Gregory. Something swung towards his vision before he could react, and everything went black. That's an awful lot of weapons for us. That's an awful lot of weapons for a supply truck. Enforce some more order. So, that guy's dead. Get some more guns. I'm just gonna destroy some support equipment. Yep, that definitely destroyed my economy. I've got the same message again, so yeah. Another attacking of the bandits. Oh no. Please don't destroy my recording. Please, 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 please. Oh my god. Trick rail lines. Sorry. My longest time I've been on 1972. My god. Bandit problems been sorted out for the most part. We have a strengthened hold on government, so now watching our borders. To go east into deep parts of Russia, someone from Onega would need to pass through the territory of the front. However, Onega and the front are vested interests in not letting each other through. Our border with the front is lined with trenches, riddled with wires, and blocked by lines and lines of sandbags. Occasionally, however, due to shortage of personnel on the part of the Guard and the Red Army battalions will sometimes make it through our lines and wreak havoc to a village, then we need a more vigilant. Shepeka will tighten his guard ship's schedule, working them through the clog and to ensure no harm even comes to the people of Onega. For the Red Army prisoners we captured, we shall ask them to provide information for the next raid or death. Though it might be barbaric for Russians to execute one another without a fair trial, these are desperate times and we will take harsh measures if need be. That's good. Learn that. Learn this. Go fire control. Don't do anything. New industrial equipment. That's what we can do. retrain some of our soldiers. They're losing a bit of the knowledge. Send them back to work. Crunching. Oh no, please don't crash my game. I mean, recording. Don't crash my recording, don't crash my... Oh, thank God. Watching the border. I guess our government, which talk about Peter Sokolov is head of government. Below that is Boris Natovsky, the foreign minister. Ivan Kudryavtsev, the economic minister, and Mikhail Omilin, the security minister. I think we've heard from at least one of these already, if not all of them. Italy gains the Galanzit Islands, this fellow right here, creating the Zona Italiana de Russia in Antarctica. So Italian Antarctica was just born in this small island. Anyway, back to the other frozen hellhole that is the remnants of the Soviet Union. We are freedom. One problem with the Russian Revolution is apparent. However, if we were to make our eyes of them the glance of the region of West Russia, we will discover that we are seemingly alone amidst a sea of extremism. Communists, fascists, collaborators, monarchists, and followers of the German racial theory surround us. West Russia was once a beautiful land, and now we stand within its ruins. A lone beacon of light and liberty for the people that has lost its purpose in the wars of its past. All that reside in Onega, be they Russians, Finnish, or Karelians origin, must know that we are freedom. Our guards spill their blood in defense of ideas, and others within Russia would not even stop to consider liberty and democracy. Everyone else has taken the easy way out in their pursuit of power. They have given no thought to the fate of the people. We are different. We dare to defend it, to the final drop of blood if we must. We are freedom. Because by technicality they are the freest state in, well, third freest, maybe fourth freest state in the entire West Russian okay, we're one of the free states in this region. The only other ones would be the Komi Republic, which can flip-flop from communist to far right, so that's not really something like that. That won't be entirely on our side. Volgoda, the neutral state of Volgoda, is democratic, but it's more like pro-neutral like us, but they basically don't really side with anyone. The West Russian Revolutionary Front is straight up hardcore communist, led by a crazed dictator. The Order of St. George, or Gayezi, Turkish also win that, by the way, but moving forward. Gayezi is basically equally as neutral as Volgoda. They won't side with anyone, they'll just get picked off. Vieta is full of monarchists, which even though I do support monarchism, I'm going to have to fight in this game. Tardas. Our economy is now dead. Jerusalem conferences were started, but moving forward from that. The Tatarstan Republic technically is very nationalistic and is only to the Tatarstan people. Gorky, or the Military Command or Control Commission of Gorky, is remnants of the West Russian Revolutionary Front that got separated. Samara is German collaborators. That's not even a joke. Ex-members of the Russian the KONR, the I've completely forgotten. Committee for the Liberation of the Peoples of Russia. If you don't know that, I completely forgot the information, most because I've been doing so many history videos. I do talk about them. The Vlazovites, the Russian National Army, that was it, the Russian National Army. They control Samara. Orenburg and the Ural League are technically more neutral. Orenburg technically does start off as slightly socialist, but is more neutral, slightly left wing, slightly right wing, but they're technically in the Urals, not West Russia, so don't care. But Kurdistan is basically Tatarstan, but for the Bashkirs instead. The Aryan Brotherhood is basically Nazis, but instead of the Aryans being German, they're Russian, or something like that. Anyway, so those are the guys in the region we care about. And to be honest, we are one of the very few democratic states. The Order of St. George is technically religious. These two maybe, but this guy can flip-flop crazy. Same as so to truly democratic, truly in the source is us, Volgograd, Tatarstan, and Bashkortostan, and maybe Komi. Back to the time. Hi. Yes, I'm also recording. Talk to you later. Hi, fans. Jonathon says hi. If you want to get driving lessons in the UK, go to Jonathon. Jonathon, what was your? Never mind. Jonathon School of. Jonathon Morley's driving school. Also, the Transjordan and Palestine united into a united Arab kingdom. Anyway. The Lobster Wars ended. Now to... I'm going to... fortify Kargopol. Kargopol was never a particularly important place. The city rests on the bank of the upper Onega River, and that is what has brought it into prominence for Kerpenchenikov's government. Just across the river, one can notice a military outpost with a red and gold flag of the West Russian Revolutionary Front waving above it. Kargopol is a city right on the frontier, and as such must be protected from hostile incursion and the possibility of invasion. We know the incursions and the possibility of invasion. We know that if it knows, then the communists will be able to control the trade along the Onega. We cannot let that happen. New fortifications will be built. The troops of the anti-communist guard will be called in to assist in the defense of the town. A defense line will be formed on the banks of Kargopol to ensure that no matter what, it will firmly survive any Soviet onslaught. I terribly said that, and deeply sorry. More training. Need to keep our soldiers in tip-top shape. Soldiers in tip-top shape. Back to entrenchment. Defend the river. The Onega River is a crucial part of our territory, flowing from the south until it reaches the White Sea. It happens to form a border between the anti-communist Volunteer Guard controlled old territory with the remnants of the restoration threat as the communist stronghold presents the only credible threat to us at the moment. It would be prudent to further the entrenchment of our position of the Onega, which is a good natural defense line. Should it be lost, then we will be in dire straits, but that is all the most recent reinforcing its defenses with excessive Finnish aid. The barebone pre-existing fortifications will be built up just in case the West Russian Revolutionary Front or anyone else gets the idea of invading. When they do, we shall be ready. Oh no, please don't destroy my recording. Please don't destroy my recording. Keep her in the red. I'm trying to fix it. Let's go in for loot. Can't do anything there. Increase monetary supply. Defending the river. The anti-communist guard unfortunately only has one major city it can reliably control. Right now, of course, that is Onega, lying just across the West Revolutionary Front military outpost. It is a key of our goals, for it is lost there is nowhere to retreat to. Over the years, it has evolved into a hub of trade as well as a station for all those who want to flee the oppressive Soviet system. If and when the front carries out its invasion, then it is more than certain that our capital, resting so close to the unofficial border, will be a prime target. Thus, even though much of the guard is already positioned, it is militarized town to protect it. Further reinforcements must be called in from other villages and towns, as well as newly recruited troops. More men must come to ensure that our capital never falls. So the current wars are, at least nearest, is Ugra versus Vorkuta. Learn that, so learn vacuum tube computing. What other wars there are? Nope, the Penjora War, that's its actual name, is the only war going on right now. It was pretty peaceful. Against Soviet air. One might think that Onega is a minor warlord state that could not hope to stand up against the air forces of others. Much more formidable armies in Russia, industrial bases of others, especially Russian fourth dwarf of our state, which can only count on a few factories were recently built with financed by Chepenko-Nikov's government. We are behind the airplane production capabilities, but that does not mean it's impossible to make differences. Onegan and Finnish engineers have been in contact over the last few weeks, discussing how to combat the effects of socialist air power and anti-aircraft guns. The technicians will be provided combined with our knowledge of Soviet Air Force tactics and their weak points from when we fought with them and against them. It should not be a difficult task to protect the skies of Onega. Also, this island now exists, the Full Haven and Fitoj Nassenland. Although that's technically in Norway, but this one's in German. Yeah, I'm fixing it. By the Norddutch, I have no idea what that is. The superiority. That guy's elected in Uruguay. No idea what to do with you, so Queen Wilhelmina died. Assault bandit weapons cache. Prototype anti-air was made. Please don't crash my recording, please, oh lord. Thank you. Get that. Steam locomotives and early trucks. And learn some light support artillery. That is done. The ending struggle. From the beginning, Onega's mission as a buffer state is clear: to provide the first line of defense against the rebels to the Russian Revolutionary Front, currently holed up in the cold northern Russian city of Archangels. Since its inception, it has been subject to raids, incursions, robberies, and attacks by the front. In their attempt to gain more loot and resources to hold back their flare against all the odds, Onega's struggle at containing the front has been so far successful. However, the continued success of our policies is never guaranteed. The Reds right across our border are not brutish enemies. On the contrary, they are vicious and in their intellect and aggressive in their ensuring that their revolution will survive to the present age. We shall update their policy of containment and organize our men with labor battalions. It is time to make sure our stand as the last remaining beacon of free democracy in West Russia. So basically, when you think about it in very weird terms, Onega is super Earth, and the West Russians are like the other guys that super Earth faces, the Luminids, the Automatrons, the Insectoids. There's no Insectoids. If you know what Helldivers 2 is, or Helldivers in general is, which, to be honest, I really do not. I don't even have the game. I only know of it from videos talking about it. Basically, it's sort of like this. The Sabang Gambi coup defeated, whatever that cares about. Early in the morning, a convoy from the West Revolutionary Front arrived as a heavily staffed point along the Onegan border. A message from the Grand Marshal has ensured the meeting would take place, although the reason for the meeting is somewhat disappointing from the Anti-Communist Guard's command. A high-ranking officer issued a command that and the American tourist, Stephen Smith. Oh yeah, here he is, Stephen Smith. And his entourage approached the Onega guards unarmed. They are patted down and their belongings searched, and once satisfied, they were permitted across the border. The American, his entourage, and his belongings were placed in a large armored vehicle which exited the scene. An uneasy silence held in the air for a few seconds after the Americans' new transport departed, broken as a major of the front troops began to leave for Archangels. With a few minutes, the border was the same as it was. Two sides of the French position, prepared for a sudden attack by any moment. So this is new. Usually, he's usually stopped by one of the many factions and just killed off. This is the first time I've ever seen him got to Onega. I didn't even know he got to Onega. I thought he just goes. He just dies along the way. Something never changes. Some things never changes. So that's a unique thing. Anyway, raiding the Soviets for the memes. So this is what Stephen Smith's final day is in Onega, entry number 33. I did not truly hit me until we crossed the border into the volunteer guards territory and we were allowed into Onega. I actually did it. We actually did it. We crossed the entirety of Russia through lands both impressive and terrifying, encouraging people on both empathy and cruelty. I have seen sights I never knew who existed. I have learned more about myself than I ever thought possible, even more astounding in the vast array of items we have collected. I have arrived with little more than my clothes, my journal, a small amount of money, and my flag. And now we have coins and souvenirs from dozens of statelets. We have clothing from Rotia, so that's the place to go. We have ammunition from Zalots, that's the place to go. We have Zoris tea set from Yukatka. Okay, that's another spot on his list. Truly, this has been a journey of a lifetime, and even I'm not sure how we managed to pull it off. Upon reflection, I can see many times where things could have gotten badly with the communists in their cuts and Timon. We are horribly tripped through the thief territory to the borders of Yakutka in the Sojourn and to our camp in Gorky, or the lands of the horrifying Brotherhood in Perm. But we together passed all the challenges. I will never forget it. Tomorrow we make it to the Finnish border, where I finally leave Russia and begin my long journey home. I know I should be elated, but I fear when I shall have the time when I shall have to leave behind their friends have grown to mean more to me and just about any item and through I know I always possess it. This will be a cold comfort when I am for wars away, especially Zoya, who has done so much to keep me safe. I still do not know how I can react when we must be separated. Tonight we will celebrate. I owe them that much. One last night. So the raid failed and we lost a bunch of men. The long goodbye. The group had crossed many borders during their long journey. But this one was different. This was final. This one would be crossed alone. As they approached the checkpoint with its Finnish flag flying high and the soldiers manning it, watching them for any signs of trouble, the man turned to his foes. The man turned to following him, tears flowing through together they had marched through the possible and most dangerous conflict territory on the planet. They had ascended mountains on the edge of the world, and now they were parting. One by one, he embraced each other, in turn dispensing the most of the currency and valuables that had been accumulated over their journey. Thanking them with both hug and handshake, they have given thanks to their loyalty, convenience, and assistance in all things, even when it should be likely not to have been given. Once he had done it, so he stood in front of the woman who had followed him, guided him, and in some cases saved him from Siberia to the place where they stood now. The woman who would not be crossing the border. He found himself speechless, unable to think of words that he could truly express what he felt. She too understood a long friendship, that kind which could not have existed outside of said adversity, and which most people would never know, had been formed, and no matter where they will never change. Taking the initiative, she herself moved to draw the man into a tight embrace, concealing some tears of her own. Thanks was not needed, it was already given. After a long moment, the man stepped back, turning away from them, and knowing that he would never be able to take steps needed otherwise. Then, ever so slowly, he picked up his remaining bags and placed one foot and the other upon. He reached the checkpoint, continued through and through. They couldn't see it. His friends, and the woman included, watched him as he passed over to the horizon. Even great journeys must end. Damn. That's the ending of. That's the first time I've seen it. The first time any good old Stevie boy actually crosses the British border. Well done, Steve. You finally got one. After every time being arrested, killed, murdered, probably being stalked by the Black Army or other things. This is the first time Steve managed to get back to America and not have his parents crash and burn hilariously into a state of depression. Let's say hilariously. Moving forward, ideally breaking the ice. I should say moving to break the ice. Ideally, Cherenkov would like for his ports to be open all year round. Sadly, in the cold northern Russian climate, the only port that he possesses are liable to freezing into harsh winters of the Arctic. As a result, for more than half the year, Onega cannot receive aid from Finland and elsewhere without relying on railroads and other land-based methods of transportation. While such means are sufficient for now, it would perhaps allow the larger volume of aid from Finland to enter all year if the ports could be used. Lacking options from the expansion without angering either Finland or the Reds, it is now time to consider stopgap measures. To our west, a lake separate us from Finland proper. We will attach icebreakers on both our seagoing and freshwater ships, and shatter the ice that has long blocked us from the outside world. After this measure is done, traders will enter Onega in large number than before, from Finland and elsewhere. Yeah, well done, Steve. It's the first time he actually managed to cross the entirety of Russia that I've actually cared enough to read about. Or even, most of the time he usually gets, stuck in arrested by one of the several thousands of Russian warlords. So you start from Magadan. You start technically from Magadan, go through then to Chechnya, then through these regions. Then he goes into here. Then he go, if I'm reading it correctly, then he most likely will go south to Rotia. next point he said he went to here, but I don't know if he either went through Kamarov or Novosibirsk. I think he went through Novosibirsk. Through either through Tomsk, which is more dangerous, or through Omsk. Then to Thailand, where he went through Slots, where it's more specified. He goes through the Aryan Brotherhood to Vikia. Then don't really care about that. Then through either Komi or Volgada, because it is, I think it's more likely Komi, most because it's specified that he went. It's specified that he went through the West Russian Revolution front. It's also specified that he went through the Aryan Brotherhood, so Slots, then here, then here. So most likely through Komi, probably stopping out at Sydkitsevivka to Archangels, then finally all the way to Onega, and finally to Finland, and finally back to the US of A. Well done, Steve, you've finally done it. Breaking the ice, now the Onegan White Guard. During the Finnish Civil War and the Winter War, there existed an elite unit of Finnish armed units specially trained to fight against the communist armies from Finland itself to Russia. Given their success in the Continuation War, the Finnish White Guard are a shining example of what to follow in constructing an army dedicated entirely to fighting the ideas of communism and in turn containing the well as isolating its influence from the border world. Also in 1963, whoopee! World. The government of Onega has a thing or two to learn from its Finnish yet again. We will begin a selection process in the army, measuring both recruits and veterans, those who prove themselves worthy to enter a new Onegan White Guard, who shall bear an honourable burden of protecting the people of Onega from the Red Menace. They shall train in the summer heat and the winter depths to prepare themselves against the second coming of the Revolution's revenge. 3 minutes, the video will end. Oh, technically 2, because I want to get it captured, not the video, just in case the capture function doesn't work when it hits the 2-hour gap. Or save you even. If it is, but I think the auto save is fixed. Thank heaven to the High Angel. So last minute, there's a border dispute between the Order of St. George and the Komi Republic. The Komi Republic seems to be in a neutral path, although it's having its explain it if it is. So we don't entirely know if it actually is or not. Deploy troops to the rails. So that was a very interesting video. Don't care about you. I'm getting out of this. I'm only 10 million away. Sure, yes, there's going to be a lot more to come. Like a lot. The second one has the uprising. And as a final thing, I'll do this one. The absence of the warm water ports, railroads, and the through Onega has become the essential asset of Kermes's government. Supplies from Finland came mainly through trains, and securing more routes guarantees a larger volume of support. To the north of us, the Reds hold a significant piece of Onega's rail network. These recognize the strategic value of its holders, and are therefore doing all they can to keep us from reclaiming it. With the formation of the new Onega Right Guard, we are ready to tackle Reds head on.